Shalom Aleichem and welcome everyone as we are preparing for Shabbat Parashat Vayishlach. Parshat Vayishlach, very important parasha, as is every parasha. You passing that Humash right underneath? We start off with the pasuk, a very famous pasuk, and it says, Vayishlach Yaakov Malachim Lefanav. That Yaakov sent Melachim ahead of him. Vayishlach Yaakov Malachim Lefanav. And Rashi says, Vayishlach Yaakov Melachim. Who are these Malachim? And Rashi says, Malachim Mamash. They are actual Malachim. Meaning that they were actual angels. That Yaakov sent angels to Esav. So the pasuk starts off. Yaakov sent angels to Esav. Now, sending angels, you must agree that sending angels is a miraculous thing. You know, to be able to boss around angels and send them where you want them to go, it's a nest, it's a miracle, right? It's something that's it's not a natural thing. One of the rules he made was that. Now the question is, we know that we don't rely on a nes. We also know that when you make a nes, and the miracle happens for somebody, it takes away from his zechutim. So what exactly is going on? How is Yaakov sending melachim mamash, real melachim, real angels? It's very miraculous. We don't rely on a miracle. It takes away from zechutim. It's not something that happens in nature. So how is Yaakov using melachim? He could have sent regular people. The Rashi says no malachim mamash. So Rav Moshe Feinstein, the Chasadik Levacha, has a side over here, and he says as follows: the hashalom bayoter ein lo hitpalut menes yoter mehateva hakbua. He says that somebody who is complete in his faith in Hashem, he doesn't have any excitement or any wow when a nes happens. A nes for a person who has real emunah b'tochen to Hashem is the same as teva. Similar to what we talked last week on the concept of Leah and her thanks between teva and nes. Rav Moshe Feinstein is saying that a person who believes in Hashem, he sees teva and nes being on the same level. Meaning that it's all through Hashem. Is there anything that Hashem can't do? Hashem can make the sun come up, go down. Hashem can make what people consider miraculous events. There's nothing out of the hand of Hashem. Rav Reisman Shlita says that when he would learn Masechet Chulin, in Masechet Chulin, it tells us an interesting story. It says there was a Pinchas ben Yair. He was going on the road, and he had to cross a river, right, the Genai River, and he had a whole conversation with the river. Open it, and he says, I'm doing Hashem Shlichus, I'm also doing Hashem Shlichus. I can't. He says, no, makes him open it. Then he was walking another time, and again he tells him he was walking with wheat for Pesach. He says, open the river, and again the river opened. He was walking with an Arab. He said, open for the Arab. It's not nice to leave him on the other side. And again the river opened. Right? I don't understand. Kriyas Yamsuf, splitting of the sea, we make a whole big deal out of it. Shri Yishul Pesach, it's Kriyas Yamsuf, everything's the whole Yom Tov. And here, Pinchas ben Yair just opened the river, and he just walks across. How's that possible? And so he says, the same concept is that Gidolei B'Yisrael, Pinchas ben Yair, miracles for them is the same as Teva. They don't see miracles as being something that is a miracle. It's something that Hashem controls, as everything else in the world. It's on the same exact level. We have a Gemara in Masechet Ta'anit on the same lines, is that Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa's daughter takes vinegar and puts it in the candle lamps, and they light it for Shabbat. And then she says, I put vinegar. And Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa says, Whoever said that oil should light, it's going to say that the vinegar should light. And it happened, and it stayed the whole Shabbos like that, even over till what the Shabbat it was. Again, a nes just happening like that. How does it happen? It's because Rav Chaim ben Dosa, like other Gedolei Yisrael, they're not nispal, they're not wow when a nes happens. A nes and teva are all the same. It all comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have a very interesting incident in Navi of Melachim. Chizkiyahu HaMelech, and we were learning this on Shabbat. Chizkiyahu HaMelech was surrounded, Yerushalayim was surrounded by Sancheiriv. They were going to battle, and they're paying off the tax at first, and they stopped paying the tax. They said, I'm going to come and destroy everything. And he had all the soldiers surround, and they came to make tshuva, and Yeshayahu HaNavi is praying, and they're praying, the people are praying, everyone's praying, and overnight Hashem sends angel, and everybody's killed off. Everybody's killed off. Erev Tov. And then they win. So the Sancheiriv's army, the Syrian army, is killed out. The Gemara says at this point, Chizkiyahu could have become Mashiach, but he didn't sing a song. And he faults him for not singing a song. But the question is, why didn't Chizkiyahu sing a song? He just saw such a huge miracle. All of a sudden, all the soldiers, the Syrian soldiers, all dead.
Because everybody before him sang, so he should have.
He should have sang, and he didn't sing. Why didn't he sing? So it says the same idea. Is according to Chizkiyahu, such a tzaddik, when he sees a nes, he sees a miracle, he's not excited from the miracle. Because he understands a miracle being something Hashem can do easily. Just as the nature is nature, nes is a nes, it's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's no, I'm crazy about it. And when a person doesn't see a nes being something extraordinary, Moshe Feinstein says it doesn't take away from his zuchutim. Now we can understand why Yaakov, it says Yaakov sent melachim mamash, real angels. He said, what did he send regular guys? No, he sent angels. Angels is a miracle. To Yaakov Avinu, people who are shalom in their emunah, complete in their emunah, nisim, miracles are something that simply that can happen. That's why someone once told me, we were talking about different biographies, and someone said if you read, certain Sephardic or Hasidic biographies, a lot of times it's just one miracle after the other miracle after one. You learn other biographies, it's a lot of Musar. When we learn this type of miracle, the type of biography, it's all about miracles. So today I was mechadish based on learning this from Moshe Feinstein, is that, they were shalom by their emunah, and therefore miracles are happening all the time to them, and to them it didn't even seem miraculous. They're not inspired by it, because this is what a Kadosh Baruch Hu rules. They see a Kadosh Baruch Hu ruling the world. And this reminded me of a story that I heard once, a Chassidish Shemaisa, that the Baal Shem Tov once stayed over by an inn, and there was a guy there who didn't know how to daven, and the Baal Shem Tov saw that he tried to daven all day, but he read from the beginning of the Siddur to the end of the Siddur. I said the story a couple of times. And Baal Shem Tov showed him, no, this is how you daven. You read this and this in the morning, this is for the Mincha, this is for Aravid, this is for Shabbat, this is for Rosh Hashanah, and he showed him how to use the Siddur. He explained to him more about Yehadut, and after a while, the Baal Shem Tov said, okay, I have to leave. Baal Shem Tov got on his horse, or whatever he had, whatever the horse and buggy, and he went off. And this man now gets up, and he's taking out his siddur, because I know what to daven today. He opens up the siddur, and all the bookmarks fell out. He doesn't know where to daven now. The Baal Shem Tov just left, so he gets on his horse, and he starts running after the Baal Shem Tov. So he runs after the Baal Shem Tov, and he sees there's a river there, and all of a sudden the Baal Shem Tov does something to the ground, and there's like a bridge goes over the river, and the Baal Shem Tov goes over this bridge. He comes to the river, the bridge is gone, and he's thinking what to do. How am I going to get to the Baal Shem Tov? I have to go to him. He says, listen, Baal Shem Tov is Jewish, I'm Jewish. It must be if I also touch the ground, all of a sudden it's going to come a bridge. So he touches the ground, and a bridge comes up, and he also goes on the other side of the river and follows the Baal Shem Tov. He reaches the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov tells him, "Oh wow, you must be tzaddik. You daven the way you do, and you're good." That's the way the story goes. At least the way I heard the version of the story. But what do we see from this story? How was this Jew able to do this? It's because he felt that by Jews, just like the Baal Shem Tov can make a nes, it's not that it's a nes, it's something Jews can do. And so he also did it. That's why it says, Vayishlach Yaakov Malachim Mamash. Mamash, they were real angels. Because when you're not nispal by nes, you're not excited by nes, not because I don't understand what happened. No, you understand what happened, but you understand that the miracle that happens is the same as nature. It's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then you won't lose the zechutim, and that way, miracles will happen very easily to that person. All right, so that's number one for this week's parasha. Yaakov Malachim Mamash he sent, and how you look at a nes and how you don't look at a nes. All right, let's move on to our second offering for this week, and we're going to move on to the pasuk about where Yaakov Avinu is traveling with his family, right? And he left over some pahim katanim, some small vessels on the other side. And so he leaves his family to go back and get it, right? And everybody knows what happens after he goes back and gets it, right? And then he was wrestling with a man until the morning. So Yaakov Avinu leaves his family, goes after the Bahim Ketanim, goes after the small jugs, and there he interacts with this man, and they fight all night. Now, the question is, the Gemara Masechah Chulin says he went back to get his small vessels. This teaches us that tzaddikim treat their property with great care. That they very much are into their property and their money. They treat every penny very dear. And that's the reason why Yaakov went to get his stuff. How do you understand that? What, tzaddikim like money more, so they don't want to lose anything? So the Chazal explained to us what this means is, we're going to have two explanations today, and they're really one and the same, but the concept bounces off each other. Yaakov Avinu, like other tzaddikim, when they made money, it was 100% kosher money. Right? There's an expression in Yiddish, an old Yiddish expression that says, Ehrliche Geld, Ehrlich means righteous, honest type, Geld is money, is Shverliche Geld. Shverliche, Shver means difficult. Meaning, making honest money is the most difficult money to make. Right? Because it's very easy to make money in not such kosher ways. But making honest money is the hardest money. Therefore, when a person earns money in the most righteous way, the money becomes very, very dear to him, very special to him. Because it's 100% kosher money. And therefore, even a little bit that he lost means he has to go back and get it. The Chafetz Chaim had a different understanding in this idea. When the Chafetz Chaim explained, you know what it is? In the business world, we have a saying: time is money, right? That's the business world. Every second you can make more dollars. If you don't use your time wisely, you're losing out money. Time is money. The Chafetz Chaim had another understanding of this, and he said it's the opposite. Money is time. You understand what he's saying here? Money is time. That means everybody needs a certain amount of money to live on, right? So if you make enough money, now you can live on it, and you can use your other time in the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. By wasting money on unessential items, Rav Pam says, one is in effect wasting the time it took to earn that money, the time that could have been used for spiritual growth. The story of Pam says is a story told of a great Rav who was invited to a rich man's house. He gets to this rich man's house. The millionaire gave the Rav a tour. And his mansion, wow, what a mansion. Rich mahogany furniture, deep plush velvet couches, custom-made draperies, imported wall furnishings. And as they finished the tour, the man asked, "No, what do you think about the house?" And he sees the Rav's face became pale, shaking. And he started to scream, "How could you use the pages of the Gemara for the walls of your house? How could you have used the pages of the Gemara for your couch?" And the man says, "Rebbe, what are you talking about? The couch is imported from Italy. The walls I got from Morocco, whatever, everything was imported. I didn't use Chas v'Shalom. I would never use pages of the Gemara." And that's what the Rav said. This is exactly what I mean. How much time did you have to spend to earn the money to buy the wallpaper and the other expensive furnishings? That time could have been used to learn Torah. And I was discussing with someone recently, that someone put a video on one of these social media sites, how they made like this really, really uber fancy, like bar mitzvah, so even weddings, some weddings don't even equal up to this bar mitzvah. So I said, why do people waste so much money in this way? They said, they have a lot of money, they don't know what to do with it. I said, if they don't know what to do with it, tell them to come to me. I'll explain to them what to do with their money. There's so much. Sometimes I walk into a shul, without mentioning any names, you walk into the shul, especially in shuls in areas that don't have a lot of Torah learning, and you see the shul is extremely fancy, beautiful, out of this world beautiful. But no one prays it during the week, and there's no svarim. There's no svarim, there's no books, no one's learning. What's the point? It's like you just took the money that you could have paid the teacher, could have put a class, put in stipend for a kollel, and you're wasting it on what? The Gemara tells us Reish Lakish was on his deathbed, and he felt bad, and he was crying a little bit. He said, "I still have a small measure of saffron, a small measure of spice, saffron." And he said to himself, the pasuk in Tehillim, and they leave their possessions to others. Reish Lakish was crying that he's dying and he still has some spice left over, meaning I used money, I spent my time to make money to buy spice that I'm now not going to use. I wasted my time from learning. This is Reish Lakish. Money is time. And Rav Pam would tell young people, and people go and, they finish high school and they start thinking about their careers. What am I going to do? Right? This is before the day everybody wanted to become YouTubers. This is before that time, right? So people want to know what I'm going to do when I grow up, right? So Rav Pam would say, don't make the paycheck the only factor of what you're going to do. Because sometimes the bigger paychecks come with so much responsibility, so much involvement, so much pressure, so much stuff that you're not going to have time to sit and learn. So what are you trading off? A paycheck for no Torah? A person is so busy with business. Some people are so busy with business, they don't have time to look at the children, talk to the children, help their children. There's no father figure at home, there's no mother figure at home. Everybody's busy working for the dollar. What's the point? The point is that you're making money to be able to have a Torah life. But if you're making money and there's no Torah life, then what's happening here? Rav Pam would say, even though a salaried worker doesn't make so much money as someone who has his own business possibly can make, but yet a salaried worker, he finishes his job at the work, comes home, I finished my job, I'm home, I come back tomorrow's a new day, it's another thing. He is at least able to have a little bit of menuchat nefesh, a little bit to calm down, and able to learn a little bit. He's able to look at his children, he's able to help at home. It's very important that a person realizes this. When he leaves the office, he needs to be able to take his mind off things. The Rav Pam would say even better, if someone can get a job in a Jewish environment, in chinuch, in a yeshiva, and now it's even less money. It's even less money than a salaried worker at most times, right? But at least he says he'll be amongst idealist people. At least he'll be able to learn Torah and spend all day in his Torah environment. Yaakov Avinu was teaching us this. Yaakov Avinu went after his money because his money was time. If he's going to have to make that money to rebuy those small jugs, that means less time from learning Torah. And so it's very important for us to realize that. Now, I want to now, on the same idea, bring to you from the Arizal, on the same concept. The Arizal, Rav Chaim Vital, his student in Tzaddik Bracha, quotes his Rebbe, the Arizal, who explains, you know why Yaakov Avinu went after those? Why do they, tzaddikim, love their money so much? It's not that they love money so much. It's that they realize that everything that they get is a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if it's a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you just take it and throw it out now? You just take it and waste it on stuff? You just splurge on it? You just what does it mean being a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So Rav Matisyahu Solomon Shlita gives a deeper meaning, and he gives it with an analogy, gives it a story. He says the story goes that there was a poor man who didn't have any money, so much so he wasn't able to get a washing cup at home to wash his hands. And he was crying to Hashem. He said, Hashem, I want to start my day off right in the morning. I don't even have a cup for Negelbas to wash my hands in the morning. That night he had a dream. And in his dream Hashem came and said, here is the washing cup and the washing bowl. He wakes up in the morning, and right next to his bed, the exact thing he saw in his dream, a real washing cup. He says, wow, Kadosh Baruch Hu came and gave it to me. He washed his hands, and from that day on, his business started to pick up until he became a rich man. He became a rich man, and now he couldn't fit in his small house anymore. His wife said, we got a lot of stuff, we have more kids, we have everything, now we need to move out. So he found himself a nice big condo, and he's moving in. He told the movers, everything from my old house, bring it and put it into my new house. Everything. Don't leave a single thing behind. And the day comes, they do the move. He comes into his house to check everything in his new house. And he's looking everywhere for that special cup that Hashem gave him. He's looking, he can't find it. The cup and the bowl for washing is not there. He tells the movers, you took everything? They said, everything. He says, impossible, we're missing my washing cup and washing. We didn't see it, we don't know what I'm talking about. He goes back to his old house, and he's looking. And he finds it in a corner, in a crack. He finds it. He says, here it is. Why didn't you bring it? And they say, this is what you're worried about? It's nothing than an old cup and an old bowl. It's plastic garbage. Why are you taking it? He says, you don't understand. This cup is very dear to me because I got it directly from Hashem. Ramat Yisrael Solomon says, everything that tzaddikim own, they realize it's a gift from Hashem. We a lot of times say everything's from Hashem, everything's from Hashem, everything's from Hashem. We say it, but do we really believe it? Do we really feel it? We say it. Everything's from Hashem. Hashem gave it. But do we really feel it? So they can't really feel it. So if they forget something from Hashem, how can I forget it? I have to go back and get it. No question. I have to go back and I have to get it. Alright, so that's two ways to look at Yaakov going back. Money is time, as well as that's over a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Did Yaakov Avinu forgot those pieces?
Yes,
he just left it there.
It looks like if he...
I think he just left it. He didn't forget that.
What does it say? Shachach. Here, Rashi says, Shachach pachim ketanim, chazar aleihem. He forgot them. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to our final lesson. No less important, but our final lesson on this week's Parashah. And then we'll take questions and whatnot. Alright, so on the same pasuk, Vayivater Yaakov levado. I want to read to you from the Midrash Rabbah. it's very important to learn Midrashim as well. You know, Midrashim teach a lot of ethical. Also, sometimes halachot are not directly learned from Midrashim, but the halakha is not mentioned anywhere else. We would look at it in the Midrash. So it's very important to learn Midrash. And we're going to read from the Midrash Rabbah on this week's Parashat 77:1. It says as follows. Rabbi Berachia b'shem Rabbi Simon Amar. It says in Divarim, it says in Ka'el, right? It says in Ka'el, there's no one like Hashem. Umi Ka'el, in Ka'el Yeshurun, it says. So now it's going to break up the words. It's going to say as follows. In Ka'el, there's no one like Hashem. Umi Ka'el, but who is like Hashem? Yeshurun. Yeshurun. And who is Yeshurun? Yisrael Saba. It's Yisrael, the grandfather Yisrael. Who's Yisrael, the grandfather? Yaakov Avinu. Why? Ma Kadosh Baruch Hu Katuv V'niskav Hashem Levado. Just as it says Hashem, Hashem is alone. It says in this week's parasha, Vayivater Yaakov Levado, that Yaakov himself was alone. So there's two alones. There's Hashem who's all alone, and there's Yaakov all alone. Yaakov was all alone, and the angel came to fight him. And so it's comparing Yaakov to Hashem. Hashem is all alone, Yaakov is all alone. What does this mean? Yaakov was all alone. So we'll take a look at what Harav Yerucham Levovitz explains this Midrash Rabbah. He says as follows. We think Yaakov went back, he was all alone because no one came with him, no one was with him. He says that's the wrong way to read this, that he was alone. You know what it means Yaakov was alone? That Yaakov was levado, he was all alone. He didn't need anyone else. Meaning, he didn't care of peer pressure. He didn't care what someone else had to think, what someone else had to say. He was levado. He knew that he himself was doing the right thing. He was following Hashem, following the Torah. He was able to stand on himself. He was Yaakov Ish Sheva Olim. He sat inside the tent. Not like Esav Ish Sadeh. He was out in the field. He was looking around what everybody else is saying, or what everybody else is doing. Yaakov, I have to sit and learn. What else is my business? He knew what his business was and he did it. The Tana in Pirkei Avot says, Ezu Gibor. Who's the Gibor? Hakovesh et Yitzro. One who conquers his evil inclination. Someone who's able to stand alone. He's able to take his Yetzer Hara, push it to the side, and stand himself without the Yetzer Hara. Do you know the Gemara says that when Yaakov was fighting the angel, 1 second the angel looked like a Rasha, 1 second looked like a Talmid Chacham. Every second kept changing who the angel was. Why? Because the pressures around the world come from two sides. You have the Risha'im, the evil people coming trying to fight against the Torah. And then you have people who come with big zikanim, big beards, big peyot. They come in and they tell you, no, it's the other way also. And they try to change. Yaakov Avinu fights them all. Who's levado? I know what the Torah says. I learned it. I have a Torah from my father, from my grandfather. And this week you saw they put out from the Vadar Rabbanon about some rabbis decided to take in their hands gitin and agunot and stuff like that. You have Rabbanim, what are you getting involved in things like this? They come in all different sizes and shapes. Person has to know who he's talking to, who he's learning from. A levado Jew is unique. He knows what's true. He's able to stand on his own. He's able to know what to do. Here he brings a story. I don't think this is not such a famous story as a lot of other stories. Well, the story brings out this concept very, very importantly. Rav Aaron Kotler Zechat Tzadik Lebracha the founder of Medrash Gevoyim, he was here in America before the war, collecting money for his yeshiva in Kletsk, in Belarus. And he was here collecting in the United States, and there weren't too many Yerushalayim, too many religious people here at the time. And he was in an area that there wasn't even so many Jews there. And especially not even religious Jews. And he was coming Shabbat and he needed to find a place to stay. So someone said there was a religious man that lived nearby. He used to be the Rav of the shul, but he doesn't come to the shul anymore. He doesn't come out of his house anymore. All day he's in his house. But he is a big righteous man. So Aaron Kotler came to that house, knocked on the door, and told him, listen, my name is Aaron Kotler. I need a place to stay for Shabbat. Can you please take me in? And the man said, no, I cannot take you in. I'm sorry, please find somewhere else. And he said, please, I'm the Rosh Yeshiva of Kletsk. Please, I'm a religious man. Let me into your house. Let me have Shabbat here. And this Rav in the house said to him, you claim to be Rosh Yeshiva of a yeshiva in Europe? Okay, I'll put you to the test. I'm going to ask you 5 questions in halakha. If you can answer those questions correctly, I'll believe you're Rosh Yeshiva. I'll let you spend Shabbat with me. And Aaron Kotler was a big genius. He related around when he was saying over the story, he said the questions were extremely difficult. He said one of the questions was so difficult I would not have known the answer on my own. But I once, on my travels collecting, I went to a community and there was a sefer that I never saw anywhere else, and I opened that sefer and I learned from it. And one of those questions was from that sefer. I would never have known that answer if I didn't see it in that sefer. And he said some other questions were very difficult from Talmud Yerushalmi, from other places that's not something that they learn in the yeshivot so much. But yet, Baruch Hashem, Rav Aaron was able to answer all 5 questions, hard questions, correctly. And the man opened the door and let Rav Aaron Kotler inside. And he said, okay, we have a deal, you can stay for Shabbat. And Rav Aaron said he was greatly impressed by this Rav's knowledge of Shas, the entire Talmud Bava and Yerushalmi. During Sudah Shlishi, Rav Aaron asked the Rav, why all of a sudden he's living all alone? Everyone says that you don't come out, you stay in the house. He says, listen, I was forced to leave Europe for America. I was planning to find a job that I can sustain myself and pursue my Torah studies. And I came here and I figured out that the kashrus of the community was terrible. People weren't involved in Judaism so much. There was nothing there. It was all about money. People prayed quickly just to go able to get to work. Everything about the dollar. I said, if my Judaism is going to survive, I'm going to have to do it alone. I cannot be with other people. And so I locked myself in my house. Total seclusion. I go out only for when I really need to get something. And other than that, everything is here. This is why I live in total seclusion. No one can disturb me. This man was livado, alone. He had no relationship. I have no interaction with the community. He said, I pray to Hashem that He let me keep my Judaism. He let me be a true righteous person. This is Yaakov Avinu. I don't care what everyone else is doing. I'm going to keep the Torah, and I'll keep it correctly. Rav Wolbe brings another idea to the same pasuk. It's just on the other side of it. There was a story. Rav Naftali Amsterdam was a Talmud of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, and he once said to his Rebbe, if I had the brain like the famous Shagas Aryeh was a brilliant scholar, if I had the heart of the Yesod B'Shoresh HaAvodah, a very pious individual, and I had the character traits, the midot of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, then I would be able to serve Hashem properly. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter looked at him and said, Naftali, Naftali, you're making a big mistake. with your head, your heart, and your midot, you need to serve Hashem properly with that. A person, Rav Wolbe says, a person has to draw a circle around himself and say that his success in this world can be found within him. Not on that. It's not totally in this person. It's not totally in that. It's only dependent on that person himself. He doesn't have to mimic others. There's no point to mimic people. There's nothing. No monkey see, monkey do in Judaism. So that guy davens 10 minutes. I'm going to follow him and also do 10 minutes. What are you doing 10 minutes if it's not you? If it's not, you don't understand the Avodat Alev. You have to really be into it and do 20 minutes if you need it. Not to follow what they do. Every day, we are confronted with a situation in which our convictions are tested. We sit, we go places, and sometimes we interact, and we're tested. Are we going to be Levado? We're going to stay like Yaakov Avinu for Hashem? And every day we're tested if we're going to be faithful to ourselves and serve Hashem the way we were meant to serve Hashem. There's no two people who can serve Hashem the same way. There's the basics, learning the Torah, davening, but even that, how you learn Torah, what Torah you learn, how you daven, where you daven, when you daven, how to kavanot, all that is dependent on a single person for them to uniquely serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so to review the 3 lessons that we learned for this week's parasha, we started off with the lesson of Malachim Mamash, which means that tzaddikim view miracles and nature one on the same, meaning it's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, when a miracle happens, they're not like, oh, this is unbelievable. It's believable because Hashem makes anything. And that's why miracles happen to Gedolim and not so much to the common folk. The second lesson that we learned was how to view money from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Righteous money is special money. And money is time. And therefore a person should value his money and value his time. So he can learn more, not waste his money for other things. We also learned in that same idea that everything that we get is really from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore we have to cherish everything that we have. And honestly, really feel that. And the third lesson that we learned is we have to be like Yaakov, Levado, stand against the tide. Like Avraham Ha'ivri. Everyone's on one side, he's on the other side. Levado, you're sitting on a city bus with 100 goyim. You're the Jew, you're different. Anybody's doing on their phone, you're on the Tehillim. You're reading a Sefer Halakha, you're reading a Jewish biography book. Don't worry, you're wearing kippah, you sit with your Sefer, no one's going to touch you. You're Levado, you're alone. That's the way you have to view yourself. And that also means that everybody has unique abilities, that those abilities has to be used in the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And with this, I would like to wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom.